question or complaint being leveled against this new coalition is the inability of Netanyahu and Gantz to work together, that these opposition figures now saying, we know these guys, we know what they say about each other, there's no way Gantz will never be prime minister, which he's supposed to be in 18 months, roughly. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, these two have worked together for a lot of years, and albeit Gantz's previous role before he became great challenger to Netanyahu. Do you think they'll work together? Do you think they'll get past things? Or perhaps, do they even have a choice?
I mean, the main thing that you need in a government is trust. And I'll tell you something. This government did not start with a whole lot of trust. We were supposed to see already last week this government. We were supposed to see the vote, the inauguration, and we didn't. And then the reason that we didn't was because of internal issues of trust within the Likud. That followed with Benny Gantz rescinding his resignation as Knesset Speaker because he did not trust that the Prime Minister would live up to his word and have a vote this Sunday. Now, in the coalition agreement, it says that the right-wing bloc is only supposed to have 18 ministers. What we found out when Netanyahu presented his government is that the right-wing bloc will have 19 ministers in this government. Now, again, as a member of the right-wing bloc, I'm very happy to hear that. But I'm sure for Benny Gantz, who needs to trust that Netanyahu will give over in 18 months the premiership, that's not the sort of thing that makes him, let's say, feel at ease when writing the inauguration of the new government, we see the first violation of the coalition agreement.
Well, back in the studio here, I'm curious to get your thoughts on what could be the most arguably impressive cast of opposition leaders we've had in a while, and certainly diverse, whether we're talking about the joint list to Bennett, Avigdor Lieberman, Lapid, who we've seen here. They don't have much in common politically, except that now they're sitting in opposition to this emerging government. What do you think we're likely to see from them?
Yeah, no, it's going to be the first time that I think, Netanyahu in his long reign as prime minister is going to have a truly fighting opposition. And as you pointed out, these are very different parties, Lieberman and Yamina, headed by Bennett, and Yair Lapid's Yesh Atid party. And so, therefore, it will be interesting if they see common cause and fight him on the same points, or, it's basically going to be a three-headed monster that basically whatever Netanyahu decides, he's going to have somebody attacking him, whether it's on peace, whether it's on issues of church and state, whatever he does, he's going to have these sort of enemies inside the Knesset, and that's going to be very interesting.
Interesting, yes. It'll be some colorful sessions to come here as they debate some of these issues. I mean, these opposition parties, just the ones we mentioned, kind of representing the four poles, if you will, of different political standings in the country here. How significant of a grouping? I know Netanyahu tried to buy many of them in up to the last minute here. It didn't work. Certainly intriguing with Bennett. You've got some insight on that. We're surprised to see him not coming in the end.
I mean, I was not surprised to see that we're not in the coalition because there was never any meeting with Naftali Bennett and Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister. If you want a scoop, I'm happy to tell you that, what news person would say no to a scoop? I'll tell you that what happened was there was supposed to be a meeting between Prime Minister Netanyahu and Naftali Bennett on that day in which they were formalizing the government on Thursday. What happened was that meeting was canceled. Instead, Rafi Peretz was invited. And what happened was Rafi Peretz told us that he was going to go in and he was going to bring all of us in with him to the coalition. Of course, Rafi Peretz decided to sign his own deal, and he ended up getting his own ministry, the very coveted job of Minister of Jerusalem and Heritage Affairs. And of course, he did not return our calls, nor did he bring the rest of us into the coalition. So I was not surprised that we ended up on the outside here. What you will see is a situation where, yes, Naftali Bennett, the outgoing defense minister, will provide an alternative to this coalition from the right. I expect Yair Lapid will go ahead and do that from the left, right? We have Ayman Odeh, who's going to do that for the Arabs. You have the Meretz party. You have Avigdor Lieberman, who's probably going to do what he always does, which is zigzag and jump. One time he's going to attack Netanyahu from the right, one time from the left. So this will be a very interesting opposition, probably the most colorful, as Allison pointed out, that Netanyahu has ever had before. But let's see also how long this government lasts, because we were talking before about trust. Right after the Yom Kippur War, Israel had the shortest government of 81 days. the second term of Golda Meir. Let's see if this one is able to surpass that one.
But Bennett and Shaked were rock solid behind Netanyahu. 3 elections, the solid right-wing bloc stood right next to him. They were humiliated. They were last on the list of people to meet with, to get the dregs.
They did not have the meeting.
They did not have the meeting, or if they would have had the meeting, it would have been the dregs.
at least got a meeting.
There's got to be a huge feeling of betrayal.
He didn't get a job, but he at least had a meeting.
I mean, don't you guys feel incredibly betrayed and like you could never trust Benjamin Netanyahu again in any matter?
So what it comes down to in politics is you're out there to go ahead and really take care of the interests of your constituency. And we would love to do that in the coalition. The prime minister made a decision that again, and that's what happens when you don't say yes to the meeting, that he does not want to go ahead and have anything to do with our constituency. For whatever reason, he thinks that Rabbi Rafi Peretz is enough to go ahead and represent all of the ideological right and religious Zionism. I think if he looks at any poll, he'll see that he's probably not necessarily at the top of the leaders of the movement that we represent. But what it comes down to is that we will take care of our constituency, even if that means we'll do so from the opposition.
You're here with our guests. The crowd's not too large out there. Maybe say something about a bit of the fatigue protesting on either side of these issues at this point. Again, we've mentioned lawmakers getting to work here. Maybe that's what the country wants to see more than anything. The issue of annexation, I want to bring that up here now, featuring most largely perhaps as one of the agenda items to come through this government. At least we're left to assume here. Allison, what are your thoughts on this now? We saw the U.S. Secretary of State literally jump here for 8 hours last week. It was largely considered to be on this topic, among others, but getting the attention of the Americans nonetheless, what appears to be unilateral moves now by the Israeli government with the support of Gantz and Netanyahu to approach this issue. How credible how much traction do you think this issue will really have in the coming months?
Well, it was an interesting contrast in their speeches in front of the Knesset. As we saw in your clip, Netanyahu made this annexation issue sort of a centerpiece of his remarks. In Benny Gantz's speech, nothing. He didn't even bring it up. And so if you look at the coalition agreement, Benny Gantz will agree to annexation if it is done in coordination with the United States. There's also a similar clause in Orly Levy's agreement with them. And so therefore, I've said it before, I think really the cards lie in the hands of President Trump, that Netanyahu will move ahead with annexation if he feels it's to his political advantage. And I think with so much pressure on the right, it will be to his political advantage. But if it means any kind of conflict with the Trump administration, he will back away from it. And I think he's covered himself in that regard because he's in this unity government. He can always blame it on Benny Gantz. Hey, this unity government won't let me do it. So I really do think that if President Trump decides that it's in his interest looking ahead to the November election and that he'll give the green light to Netanyahu, he will move forward with annexation. If he gives the red light, it's not going to happen.
That sounds a kind of a scary concept that such a sensitive issue might be beholden to the American political
Netanyahu wants to. He just won't do it without the Americans on board.
And certainly this issue, always been somewhat of a campaign talking point here by elements of the right, gained the most traction we've seen in a long time by the Trump administration plan that now sort of put a path forward out there for Netanyahu and others to grab at. What's your perspective on this? Where's it going? Obviously, it's been an issue embraced by many elements of the right. Do you think that it will happen or move forward, at least the way it's being said it will?
Look, the right would love to see it happen.
Bennett said he'll step in support if that becomes a real issue. For sure.
Look, if there's a vote on applying Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, we will support it. That's not a question of us being in the coalition or the opposition. But the situation is we just don't believe it's going to happen. And we have good reason why. If you read the coalition agreements, and also I can tell you based on background conversations we've had, what is it that we're talking about? Is it the 30% that was mentioned in the Trump plan? Is it just the Jordan Valley? Amir Peretz made some public statement that it sounded like it's Gush Etzion. Is it just the settlements? Is it going to be just part? Is it going to be incremental? It is not clear. We have no idea what this thing is supposed to be, and we're not allowed to discuss it until July 1st. So we just don't buy that that's going to happen. Of course, beyond that, you have public statements by Benny Gantz, by Avi Ashkenazi, and others within the left-wing bloc of this government saying that they will do everything they can to make sure this doesn't happen. So you can understand why we're very skeptical to actually expect that there will be any movement at all right? The entire call to Yamina to join this coalition was to be a part of this. And as it was seen, that was the main cornerstone of the government as it was presented by the prime minister. What I'm saying is I do not expect that to happen at all. And I'm sure that tape is going to be played on over and over again whenever we do get to the next elections, because I wouldn't be surprised if they're sooner rather than later.
Do you think Benny Gantz, maybe not on the part of next elections, but on the chances for annexation, do you think he agrees with you? That's why he's not making a deal out of it right now, thinking, I don't need to talk about this, it's not going anywhere?
For sure, David. Look, he has no reason to say anything right now. All he has to do is keep saying publicly, I am going to do whatever I can to put on the brakes. Look, I put in the coalition agreement. We can't even discuss this until July 1st, what this actually means. And now he can say, look, Yamina is in the opposition, they're to the right. He has a lot of ammo, and he can go to his friends in Europe as well as, his friends within the center-left bloc and say, look, I am with my own body preventing this from moving forward. So, guys, give me some slack here. And I expect that's what he's going to say in private conversations moving onward.